So I'm with Lewis Hall, the star member, really, of Think Floyd, the band that's touring the UK at the moment, a Pink Floyd tribute band. Lewis, welcome to the programme. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and well, I suppose first question, what's it like being back on tour? Because what was it, 500 and something days that you were, without performing in front of an audience? It must be a bit surreal being back on stage.
It has. I must admit, the first show we did was, I think it was the 19th of August. We were down in Taunton, and then we had sort of 3 shows on the trot, and it was very strange. The first night, I think we were a bit nervous. I think the audience were a bit nervous as well, because we came off stage in the interval thinking, have they enjoyed it? I think people were a bit nervous about clapping and cheering because it was quite an informal event. And then by the end of the show, everyone was up on their feet cheering. And then we did a couple of venues up north where everyone was sort of, it was like nothing had ever happened. Everyone was packed in like a tin of sardines, and it was back to normal. And it's been strange, we've different parts of the country. I think different people and different ages are a bit more nervous about going out. Some people are still wearing masks. Some people deliberately don't want to wear masks anymore. But it's been really genuinely wonderful for us to be able to connect with people on stage and feel like we're making music live for an audience rather than just doing things on YouTube or Facebook or whatever. But on the downside, I must admit, I found the late nights and the traveling. We've all found that a bit of a shock to the system, having spent 18 months not really going anywhere or doing anything.
Yeah, take us back to March 2020, because I think you were on tour at the time, weren't you, when everything started kicking off and suddenly we were into lockdown. What happened?
Yeah, it was strange, really. I think it was, I can't remember the exact date, but it was the weekend before Boris made his announcement on the Monday, and we were doing a couple of shows up north. And one of the guys we had working with us on our crew was from Italy. And of course, Italy had just gone into lockdown. And we were saying, oh, no way will we go into a lockdown in this country. They wouldn't dare. But sure enough, we did the last 2 dates, and it was announced on the Monday. And then we just all went, not really shocked because it was kind of expected, but just like, well, what do you do? But I must admit, the first few months of it was all right because everyone was in the, I know people saying we're in the same boat. It's not the right phrase to say, but from our point of view, it would have felt terrible if other bands were going out performing and we couldn't. But because nobody else could, everyone was on lockdown. It wasn't too bad, and the weather was good. And although I wasn't earning anything, I wasn't spending anything. So grew some veg in the garden, took up cycling and lots of nice walks around Ferry Meadows and things like that. So the first part of it was all really good. And it was kind of the autumn this time last year, that it all got a bit dark because most people had gone back to work. Lots of things were opening up, but we still couldn't do anything. So, if there was a dark lockdown, it was sort of this time last year, sort of going through Christmas. But, it's been strange. It's all sort of picked up again now, and it's not quite back to as it was, but it's certainly as close as we're going to get for a while, I think.
Yeah, certainly things have improved a lot. So during the whole pandemic and lockdowns and things, what did you get up to? Because I suppose as a band, when you, as you say, you rely on your income and it's your day to day going on tour and playing gigs. Did you just go into hibernation? What happened?
Well, a little bit, I must admit. Yeah, I mean, certainly as a group, we kind of did because we weren't able to get together. I mean, we'd have sort of weekly meetings on Zoom, which sort of got less often, as the weather got better and time went on. But we made a couple of videos that we put out on YouTube. We did a video of the track Fearless, which was quite a simple one. We started off, we got Steve to film himself playing the drums in his garden. He sent me the video of that. I added bass and acoustic on top of that. Then we sent it to the keyboard player. Then we sent it to the guitarist, and then we put it all together and put that out. And that was a lot of fun. And then in the autumn, we managed to get together. A friend of a friend had just bought an old church up in Derbyshire. So we were all able to get together at the beginning of October and again earlier this year. And we started writing some music because it's been something we've been talking about for years and years and years and never got around to it. So we used the opportunity to start writing and recording some stuff. And it's ongoing. We'd hoped to have it ready for now, but the craziness of recent shows has sort of slowed things down a bit. But once things calm down this month, we'll get back in the studio and hopefully we'll have it finished in time for Christmas.
Oh, that's hugely exciting. So you really turned it into a positive and made the use of that free time like lots of people have, turning to new hobbies or things like that to pass the time. And you've been making your own music, not just using what Pink Floyd have already done.
Yes, yeah. I mean, we've done. I mean, this will be in the style of Pink Floyd. I mean, obviously lots of nods and references to their sound and production and style of music, but hopefully it's sort of original enough to be ours. And then I sort of worked on a few different projects. I sort of learned how to use video editing software a bit better and things like that. And I've been writing a bit of music for a couple of independent films and just anything to keep me busy. Although I wasn't really earning any money, I just wanted to be, I'm a creative kind of person, so I needed to feel like I was doing something.
Fantastic. Well, I'm speaking to Lewis Hall, the star member, the vocalist for Think Floyd. They're coming on tour to Cambridgeshire in the next few weeks. And in the next few minutes here on BBC Radio Cambridgeshire, I think we'll delve a little bit deeper into Lewis's links with Peterborough. He teased us with a mention of Ferry Meadows, and we'll explore that more in just a moment. Great. So I'm with Lewis Hall, the star member of Think Floyd. They're coming to Stamford and Peterborough in the next few weeks. So I thought we'd come and get the lowdown ahead of those gigs. And Lewis, a moment ago, you teased us with a mention of Ferry Meadows, how you like to go there in your spare time, because I know you're heavily linked with Peterborough. Tell us about it.
I am. Well, I was born in Peterborough back in the 80s, and I grew up. My early years my family was from but we moved to St Neots when I was about 3 or 4 or something like that. So I went to school in St Neots, but then I came back to Peterborough. I studied at the regional college here. I did performing arts and the music course, and then soon after that, I was lucky enough to join Think Floyd. So I was just turned 21 when I joined the band. So I sort of stayed in Peterborough. The obvious thing to do was to move to London, but actually, all my friends were here. It's good sort of transport links and things like that. So here I've stayed, and I live sort of Woodston area, not too far from Charters and the new Lidl, which is
fantastic.
So I don't need to drive anywhere now. So it's great. So I do spend a lot of time in Peterborough. I must admit, I don't go out. Well, we've not had the chance to, but I don't really go out to gigs here much these days. I used to in my younger days when they used to have lots of gigs on at the Park and the Met Lounge and places like that. But hopefully things are starting up again now. So hopefully I'll get out again before too long.
Yeah, so I suppose being on tour then, coming to places like the Key Theatre in Peterborough and Stamford nearby as well, the Corn Exchange, that must hold a particular fondness for you among the band.
Well, definitely. I mean, the Key Theatre is kind of where it all started, really, because I used to come and do the summer schools and the youth theatre there as a kid, and I was actually working at the Key Theatre as an usher when Think Floyd were playing there in 2001, and I heard they were looking for a new bass player. So that's how I got the audition and eventually got the job. So we always come back to Peterborough. We've looked at other venues in Peterborough, but for me, it's always the Key. It's a nice, intimate venue. There's not a bad seat in the house, so it is always nice. It feels like we're coming home whenever we play there.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, because you explore so far and wide across the UK, and I know over the last weekend I think you did 4 gigs on straight nights. It's been a very busy schedule for you. What are the kind of venues that you go to? Have you got any ones that particularly stand out, as well as the Key Theatre, obviously? Have you got any that stand out in terms of being a bit unique and a bit bizarre?
Yeah, I mean, there's sort of pros and cons to all, really. I mean, it's great. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, we were playing at a theatre in Southampton called the Mayflower, which I think is about a 2,500 seater venue. It's a massive, massive theatre, grand venue, lots of royal boxes and things like that. So it's always great to play large places like that. But also it's nice to play the more intimate places as well, where people feel, I mean, when I was younger, I used to love going to big gigs at, Wembley Arena and Birmingham NEC. But I don't think I'd ever want to go to one of those gigs anymore now. If you're just watching somebody on a screen, you might as well be watching somebody on YouTube or on your telly at home. So I think it is nice to play the more intimate venues where people can really feel part of the action. Another venue we played recently was a cave up in Derbyshire. It's called, believe it or not, it's called the Devil's Arse, and it's an old cave. So we did a gig in there, and that was a fantastic atmosphere. And then over the years, we've done some great shows abroad. We used to play regularly on the Greek island of Rhodes on an ancient amphitheatre, coincidentally enough, next door to David Gilmour's house as well. So that was always nice. So yeah, it's great to go to different places, meet different people, because although we are a small island, there's lots of variety in the type of people and the types of towns. So it is really nice, and it is a privilege to be able to sort of travel around for work and visit so many nice places.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to touch a little bit more on former members of Pink Floyd, because Syd Barrett, the late great Syd Barrett's been in the news in the last few days because he's got one of his guitars up for sale. Actually, that the private owner of one of these Syd Barrett guitars is selling it for charity. It's being put up for sale, I think, by Cheffins in Cambridge, and he used to live in Cambridge, I believe, as well. So there's another local connection to Pink Floyd. I was wondering, 12 string, do you fancy it? I think it's estimated to be going for around £5,000 to £10,000. Have you got that in your back pocket?
Unfortunately not. And even if I did, I've not, people always say, how many basses have you got? How many guitars have you got? I've never been one to collect instruments. I've got 2 basses and I've got 3 acoustic guitars. One of them's a 6-string, one of them's a 12-string, and one of them's a nylon string. So I've got what I need. I've not been one to sort of hoard loads of guitars for different reasons. So, but yeah, I'm sure it'll find a very welcome home. But unfortunately, a lot of these guitars, they never get played. I think Dave Gilmour has sold a lot of his stuff recently, and people will probably just buy them, and it'll probably go on a wall in a hard rock cafe somewhere and never have the music made that it was designed for, which is a bit of a shame.
Yeah, it's a bit sad, really. You're right. Have you got any items of Pink Floyd memorabilia lying around? Because I know they held your tribute band, Think Floyd, in quite high regard.
Apparently so. I mean, we've never met them sort of personally, but we were very lucky enough that Nick Mason was on a radio show a couple of years ago, specifically talking about tribute bands, and mentioned us very, very nicely. So we were pleased with that. But no, I've not got any specific memorabilia other than, bits and bobs I've collected over the years. I mean, CDs, LPs and box sets, VHS tapes and things like that. I mean, back in the days when we used to have MTV on cable TV, I used to come home from school and tape all my favorite videos, and that was around the time that the Division Bell came out in the sort of mid-90s. So I've sort of kept all that stuff on tape, but nothing of any value, I don't think.
Oh, brilliant. So you're playing the Corn Exchange Theatre in Stamford Saturday the 23rd of October, so a week on Saturday, and then a week or two after that, the Key Theatre in Peterborough on Friday the 5th of November. Just thinking going forwards now, so you're back after all the restrictions and things like that. You're riding a bit of a high at the moment, I imagine. What are you thinking about moving forwards? Because Think Floyd have been doing the rounds for years and years, and each tour you have a sort of different theme. You focus on a different part of Pink Floyd's repertoire, if you like. And what's the plan sort of moving forwards? What's the long-term view, do you think, for Think Floyd?
Well, I think as long as people want to come and see us, we'll keep making the music. I mean, we quite genuinely, we always ask for feedback from the audience, because, we don't just want to hear, we get a lot of positive comments on social media, but we do encourage, negative feedback as well, because we're always trying to make the show better. We're always investing in sort of new equipment, new technologies to make the show smoother, sound better, look better. If there's a way that we can make a guitar sound a bit closer to Dave Gilmour's sound, or make a keyboard sound just that bit closer to the original, we're always working on that. We're lucky enough to be touring 2 different shows at the moment, because some of the shows at the moment are new dates for this year, but quite a few of them are rescheduled ones from last year. So the Key Theatre is one of those. It was originally advertised as a show of The Wall, because that's what we were touring in 2019 and 2020. So we've been playing The Wall at a few dates, but Stamford is a completely different show. We're doing our new show, if you like. So if local people can't decide which one to come to, I'd say come to both. come and see us in Stamford. We'll be doing, a sort of a mixture of all sorts of things from, we'll include The Wall, but more from Wish You Were Here, something from Animals, Medal, a bit of everything. And then the show in Peterborough will be mainly focused on the complete album of The Wall as well.
Oh, brilliant. Perfect. So something for everyone, for Pink Floyd and Think Floyd fans in Cambridgeshire. So looking forwards then, you're on Facebook, you're on Twitter, that sort of thing as well. Just Think Floyd UK. But what's your favourite song to perform? I know I've got my favourite, but I'm intrigued to know yours.
It's usually something that we're not playing at the moment, if that makes sense. So the year before last, we were playing the track "Dogs" from Animals, which is always a good one to play because it's about, like a lot of Pink Floyd songs, it's about sort of 12 or 15 minutes long. It's got lots of different sections or movements to it. I start off playing the acoustic guitar, then I move on to bass, then I go back to the acoustic guitar, then I go back to the bass. You know, it's a real journey. But we're not playing that at the moment, so that's probably why it's my favorite. Yeah, it's you know, it changes. You know, I must admit, I don't really listen to Pink Floyd for pleasure much these days. It's mainly because we're learning a new set. So if I was going to listen to something for pleasure, I'd probably put on an album like Obscured by Clouds or the Syd Barrett album or something like that, just for something a bit different.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, I think for me, it's got to be Wish You Were Here. When that acoustic guitar plays those first few notes, it's like, oh, the whole atmosphere just completely changes for me. It's perfect.
Well, Wish You Were Here is one of the, you know, there's certain songs that we've always got to play at every show. I think Wish You Were Here, Comfortably Numb, maybe Time. You know, there's certain tracks that people would be disappointed if we didn't play. So we always sort of plan our sets to sort of have a bit of everything, something for everyone, as well as we always sort of make sure we're playing something, you know, slightly less known, a bit more obscure, that the, you know, the more hardcore fans will appreciate, that I think quite a lot of the other shows don't do.
Absolutely. Well, it's sure to be entertaining, not just from the band, but you've got all the lights and all the elements that make a great show. So at the Key Theatre in Peterborough on Friday, the 5th of November, and Stamford Corn Exchange Theatre on Saturday, the 23rd of October. Lewis Hall, the vocalist and bass player for Think Floyd, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, and good luck with the shows. And I'll see you at the Key Theatre one.
Nice one. Look forward to meeting you then.